Hello, everyone. Just check my sound settings are fine. So today we are going to channel the Arcturians, who's going to set the foundations for what the Nomura Lemurians are going to build on August. Today we are talking about fear, and the Arcturians are going to go in much more depth, including their permission slip about fear. So let's get started. And before I forget, I don't know why I'm forgetting these days, Leticia, please share how uh, everybody can ask the questions during the session.
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Leticia. I'm the monitor of this meeting. I'll be taking questions after the monologue. And the way it works, we're going to put our questions in the chat. If you just want to give a general idea, you don't have to write the whole question, but it's good for me to know what it's about so we can have the flow of the meeting. And if you have any troubles as well, the way to communicate with me is through the chat. I'm sharing right now the YouTube and Facebook channel as well. I'm gonna share right now the feedback form, and the feedback form we are going to use to complete at the end of the session before you go, so we can improve. So I'm just getting the link here. Yeah, we are ready to start. Thank you so much.
All right, great. So if you have to drop out before the session ends, please do
Yeah.
fill in the feedback form. It allows us to improve if you have faced difficulty anywhere during the session, before or after. All right, so I will tune into the Arcturians and I'll see you at the end. Greetings. We are the Arcturians, and it is our pleasure to interact with you in this manner today. How are you doing?
We are doing great. Thank you. It's a pleasure as well to interact with you.
Yes. So today we are going to talk about another pandemic, which many of you are not quite aware of, consciously speaking. And we would like you to address this pandemic as soon as possible. The pandemic that we are talking about is fear. And the manifestation of this pandemic started in COVID, when the fear had taken form of COVID and shown how it can take lives. Right now, the mass consciousness, the collective consciousness of humans have woken up to the fact that the traditional working models that they are used to for so many years are not working. But people are afraid to voice their concerns to their employers. People are afraid to leave their jobs because the jobs pay their bills and they are absolutely not enjoying the process of doing a job. This is created because of fear of the unknown as to what will happen if they leave the job, who's going to pay the bills. And there are many, many fears clustered together in each human, which is preventing you and the collective consciousness of humans from pursuing their highest excitement. We have given various permission slips for various things, but we realize that addressing this is very important at this point of time if you were to ascend. Because when you are excited and approaching things from a place of excitement, you are in the gamma state. Your brain is creating gamma waves, and a lot of these thought forms and thought entities of fears that you have created in your aura gets suppressed because your excitement prevails. Now, if these fears and traumas are way too strong, then it can prevent you from your continued effort to follow your highest excitement, because it will come and block you in between. You are pursuing your excitement and it comes and blocks you, and you lose the flow. So, in today's transmission, let's talk about how fear affects your decisions. As discussed in other transmission by the other beings, how you are manifesting your reality, it is important you understand how your emotions and thoughts play a very huge role in creating your reality. Like it has been said before, when you are operating primarily from a place of fear, that you are doing a job because you have to pay your bills, you are telling yourself that you cannot survive by pursuing your highest excitement. And this limiting belief is powered by fear as to what will happen if you actually do pursue your excitement. This fear will manifest in a lot of physical illnesses like a lower back pain because you're not enjoying your job, at the same time wanting to pursue something else but afraid to do so because you're worried about money. For those who have already made the shift, you are experiencing the fear even more because it is pulling you towards your past patterns and you're not able to fully enjoy your excitement. So, how do you become aware of what is driving your decision making in a daily life? We ask you to become conscious about the thoughts you are having. An average human thinks about 62,000 thoughts a day. We understand that many of you are not used to it. However, if you really want to raise your vibration, prepare for open contact with extraterrestrial and extra dimensional species like us, or meet your hybrid children, these are the small things you can get started with while you're also working on your traumas through other permission slips. Become aware of your feelings. That is how you start. If you are going about your day and suddenly you notice you're not feeling good, no matter what the feeling is, just pause and stop whatever you're doing for 30 seconds and ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? That will reveal the thought that created that feeling. Ask yourself, what am I feeling when I have this thought? Say, for example, if you are going about your day and suddenly you feel discomfort around your chest, just pause and ask, why am I feeling this discomfort in my chest again? Oh, I don't know whether I'm going to get the next customer. This is the thought. What do I feel when I have this thought that I don't know when I'm going to get my next customer? Oh, I feel fear and anxiety and sadness and disappointment and a little bit of anger towards myself. This way, you become aware of how you are creating your reality with your thoughts and emotions. It's high time for you to not let it run in the background. It's high time you become aware of it in the foreground. So, what do you do when you become aware of a thought that is creating these feelings? We just gave an example. It could be anything in your daily life. The moment you identify the emotion and the thoughts, you can use what is traditionally and very popularly known as the emotional freedom technique or EFT, which is free to access in your search engines and very easy to use. This method will help you release your fears to some extent instantly because it taps out the fear energy from your meridians, the stuckness in your meridians. If you are not comfortable using EFT, you can also exercise at that moment. When you do a full body exercise, it doesn't have to be strenuous. It could be just a 2 minute, 5 minutes full body simple exercise where you are exercising each and every part of your body. There are many simple exercises. This also allows the meridians to release the fear energies that's stuck in the inside. Or you can also do shaking, shaking of the whole body. That will also release the emotions and the fear energies that's stuck in the body. Don't allow those emotions to last in you for too long. We said EFT because it's easy and simple to do no matter where you are. Even if you're traveling, you can just start tapping no matter where you are. It's important you instantly switch your emotions, not by denying them or invalidating them. Tell yourself, my fears are valid, my anger is valid. Thank you, anger. Thank you, fear, for showing me what is important to me. Now, what decisions can I take to relieve my fear or anger? So regulate your emotions using these methods that we outlined. You can explore many other methods that work for you, but the most important point to note is your feeling of fear or any other negative emotions going down when you do that exercise? If it is not going down, then it's not effective. We are going to be blunt about it. We mention methods which actually work. We have seen this channel use those methods. And for us, we always use the path of least resistance. We are going to use whatever we have seen work, then suggest you something out of the blue. So, to summarize, pay attention to what you are feeling. If you're not feeling good throughout the day, make as many interventions as possible throughout the day. Then you will become conscious of what quality and kind of thoughts you are having and intervene. Don't allow those thoughts to continue. When you continue doing this and make it a habit, then you will master your thoughts. This is one of the eight paths of Buddhism, the eightfold path, where the right thoughts are important. This will allow you to master your thoughts, and you will know how to control your own thoughts, because when you know how to regulate your emotions, you can regulate your thoughts. Once you are able to reach this state where you become conscious of your thought, notice the emotions, and immediately work on it, from that stage onward, you will move to put it in human ways, level 2 of manifestation. Because once you become conscious of your thoughts, you can start creating your reality by creating consciously newer thoughts, which are in synchrony with your whole body. So every time you're feeling bad, stop, pause, ask, why am I feeling bad? What thought is creating it? What emotions I'm feeling? Next step, immediately stop whatever you're doing, take 5 minutes break and release that emotion. You don't have to care about the thoughts. If you release the emotions, the thoughts will change, because the thoughts and emotion work together. They are intertwined, they are not separate. If you just release the emotion, the thoughts will change. And then once you feel okay, go about your day again. Again, if you notice you're having negative emotions, again, pause and do this simple exercise. You can improvise it in your own way. And if you notice you are getting the same negative thought over and over again, that means you have not taken action to provide relief to yourself. And that there is also a limiting belief or a trauma or a parts fragmentation associated, which is why this is coming back in loop. And this has become a really strong thought forms. Usually, strong thought forms will come and appear in loops and keep on repeating. That usually happens when a fragmented part of you is stuck in that loop, which is why we always advise heal your traumas, do parts work, do shadow work, do therapy, do coaching, do whatever you need to do to provide relief and merge that part with your whole identity. Then that repetition of negative thoughts will stop, and it will also change your behaviors. It will also change your decision. It will change your vibration by raising it. And then you will notice the same problems which used to happen before are not happening anymore, because you changed your manifestation by changing the thought. Everything is interrelated, they are not separate. And step by step, we are trying to connect all the dots for you. So Herd is taking approach from one angle, we are taking an approach from another angle, and the Lemurians are taking an approach from the body angle. But we are all trying to work together and say the same thing. Raise your vibration by releasing your negative thoughts and negative beliefs and negative emotions. And that will help you not only spiritually ascend, but also for open contact. Everything has an impact on other things. Everything is interconnected. Once you understand each aspect, then you will see the connection between them and how one affects the other. Once you learn how to manage your fears, your decisions about life will not be fear based anymore, because you will catch yourself from thinking negatively. If you are making decisions from a place of fear, it would go like, oh, I have to do the job because I have to pay the bill. And this is a fear based decision. If you are self aware, if you become or develop self awareness through the method that we highlighted, then you will know, oh no, I don't want to make that decision from a place of fear. Let me release the fear and let's see what happens. Once you release the fear, you will notice your decision has changed in a way that is aligned with your soul and also allows you to sustain yourself. Remember, your excitement will not leave out the other aspects of your survival. It is a complete kit which you have hard time believing because you are all holding on to fears, which is why this is one way you can become a master of your thoughts. And in other transmissions, the other beings will go into much more detail, talking about each individual perspective. So today's permission slip is going to be an extension of what Hod had shared in his last transmission. And we align with Hod in giving you the same permission slip, but using it in different ways so that you understand how expansive each of these permission slips are and how it can enable you to do so many things just doing one thing. It will prevent from overwhelm. It is easy to do. You can do it anywhere. And it would assist you in your not only spiritual development, but also personal and emotional development, because your spiritual development will directly reflect the quality of life you're having. A person who is personally and spiritually developed will lead a better quality of life, emotionally speaking. Most of you associate material wellness with the quality of life, but that is not the case. Your emotional well being defines the quality of your life. And at some point, you will realize that both material wellness and emotional wellness can hold hands and walk together, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So, this is how we are going to end our monologue today and open up for questions.
Thank you so much for sharing this information. I'm going to start with James. James, would you like to unmute yourself, please, and ask your question?
Thanks, Letitia. Hello, and thank you so much for the monologue today. It was really, really interesting. My question is on stagnation. I'll just talk about myself for a minute. So I am wanting just to get out of my current job in the same vein that we were talking about earlier. But I find I'm in a place of stagnation. So it's very difficult for me to find the flow. Even, well, it is improving, but kind of focusing on the little things first I have found helpful. But in general, do you have any advice on how to approach stagnation?
Yes, stagnation is caused by fragmentation, a parts conflict. So one part of you wants to do something, the other part feels that sticking to this job would serve you, and hence you're not taking either action because they are in conflict. So you need a parts integration to stop the stagnation from continuing. We use the word procrastination, stagnation, but they mean all the same thing. It is an internal conflict that you may not be consciously aware of. So let's ask you, why would you not leave your job right now? How is it? How is doing your job serving you now?
Oh, it's just as you were saying earlier in the monologue, it really comes down to the financial side of things to pay all the bills, you know. I think
Yes,
if it wasn't for
so,
that one thing, it would be much easier.
and why would you, no, before even we go to the why, what is the other part of you wanting to do which makes you feel there is a stagnation?
I think there's a part of me that
Don't think,
there's a
feel.
part of me that feels like I just want to be free. That's one aspect of it. And there's a part of me that wants to be my own boss and to work much more on the spiritual side with healing and spiritual work, that kind of thing, assisting other people.
So there you go. You have three parts in conflict, or maybe two. One part, both parts, remember, are trying to help you. They are protecting you in their own way. This is why fragmentation is a problem, because as the Lemurians have said in their transmission, one part is only a group of cell that is holding on to a trauma. The other part is not aware of this part because it is not so-called connected with the trauma of this part, because the trauma was trapped and stored only in this part so that it doesn't affect the entire body. So only this group of cell knows the trauma. The rest of the body, even if it communicates with these cells, do not have to bear the burden of the trauma because these groups of cells agreed to handle and contain in it. Hence, the perspective of these group of cells in your body which are traumatized and holding on to the trauma will be different from the other group of cells which has not experienced the trauma because it doesn't even know. This part is truly and genuinely not aware of the trauma of the other part. And both of them are trying to help you. The part which is trying to help you financially is concerned with your survival. And that's why it is stopping you to make decisions that will make you suffer because of not having the finances. Whereas the other part, which is not aware that there could be trauma related to that belief that, oh, if I don't do this job, it will make me go broke. That is a fear response because this part is traumatized and holding on to some earlier memories that created this fear for this part. So it's operating from that perspective. And this other part doesn't even know that it is operating from that perspective. This part thinks that I want to be free. Why am I not being free? I want to be my own boss. And this part doesn't understand the perspective of this part because it doesn't have the same perspective or the same trauma. Parts integration allows you for each of these parts to communicate for healing the trauma of this part so that they can eventually unite and become one whole being and not have conflicting opinions, because now they would understand each other and speak the same language. They may still have a different perspective, but their goals will be more aligned and not in conflict because both of these parts want your happiness. So no part is evil. It is doing its job based on its limited perspective. So parts integration or parts work or shadow works allows you to go deep and find out why this part thinks in this way, when was it formed, what incident caused it to happen, what is it holding on to and what needs to be released, and change its perspective and allow it to integrate with the other. This would end the stagnation, the conflict that you're having, and allow you to move forward. Does that help you understand?
It does, yes, yes. Thank you very much. That's very, it's helped clear it up for me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, James. Now, Vince, would you like to unmute yourself, please, and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you for your transmission. It seems to me like we've been set up for fear from a very young age. And I was just thinking of the story of Pandora's box, and we don't quite know what it was, but you don't open the lid because out will come all these evil genies or something. So what was the analogy of that, and how come, is it purposeful that we've been set up for fear like that?
You have not been set up to feel like that. You have chosen to experience a specific aspect of source. And the only way you can experience that aspect of source when you experience the opposite of that. So, say for example, if you have chosen to experience your theme as forgiveness in this lifetime, then how will you know that you are forgiving if there is nothing or no one to forgive? Hence, you are going to experience the opposite of your theme, because through that reflection, it will allow you to understand I am not that, I am this, thus allowing you to define that despite other people hurting me, I choose to forgive because this is who I am. I am the aspect of forgiveness of the source. And there are other people who are living different themes. like this channel, is about knowledge. So the kind of themes she experiences is the opposite of knowledge, which is ignorance in others. And through that, it fuels and ignites her passion to share this knowledge with others to end ignorance. Similarly, people have different themes. So, this is a setup you did for yourself before you chose to take birth. And the Pandora's box analogy has many meanings, but the one that we are going to share today is more related to what humans are known to do the most to avoid their shadows. Nobody wants to do therapy because they are afraid to open the Pandora's box. So I don't know what lies in the shadow and what will come out. This is causing the parts of you which are traumatized to not be able to speak their truth, integrate with you, become one. If you keep them separate, if you don't look into it, they will not stop communicating with you. They will come up when you are meditating, when you are trying to sleep, when you are in peace. They will scream for attention. And they will continue to create the thought forms which will create realities where they will be triggered, the traumas will be triggered because they want you to look at them and solve that. And they will continue to create negative realities. The only escape is to look at them, integrate them, then your reality will change. This is not a setup where you did not have any part or role to play. This was your idea.
Yeah, thank you for that. Terrific.
Thank you, Vincent. I have a question I'm gonna ask of my own. If that's okay. So how can we see then the mechanism of fear in a positive way?
That is a good question. So we would ask you a question back to help you understand what good things can happen now, which wouldn't have happened if you did not feel afraid.
Yes. And so going with what we're talking, I have these questions about one of my fears. That is, I have a fear of being famous or success, which equals being known by many, many people. I don't know exactly why I fear that.
Ask yourself what will happen if you become successful? What bad things will happen if you become successful? Because fear is all about imagining bad things happening.
Yeah, I think I would kind of like be too busy or lose my time with things that I do think it's more precious.
So that is a need that you have. You want more control over your time. And you're afraid that if you become too successful, you may not have any control over your time. So in which ways can you have control over your time and also be successful?
Right. And as well, like lose a little bit of the freedom of
No,
you know,
don't
yeah,
lose any freedom.
right.
Remember, that is your need. There are many people who are very successful and are not giving up all of their time because they know how to automate tasks, delegate tasks to others, or follow a career which allows them to schedule and have their own free time. There are many ways to do it, and each person's journey is different. Don't ignore your needs. This is why we give you so many tools to work on yourself. There could be some beliefs or traumas related to this fear. we would urge you to investigate that and release it. Then this fear
Mhm.
and this thought will be gone.
Yes, I will surely do that. Um, I have questions now from our Facebook group that I would like to ask. So from Jeff, um, he asks, "What is the spiritual significance of the Russian-Ukrainian war, and when will it end?"
We are not allowed to predict the future because you tend to take our words too seriously and then you squarely align yourself to that future. There are many possibilities, and each one of you are moving to a parallel earth that is most aligned to you. So, the spiritual significance of that war is like exposing a blister that already existed. Remember, these last 2 years are years of exposure. A lot of things that has been in the shadows are coming to light. So people's fears are coming to light. The dark side of how businesses operate in this world is coming to light. And the conflict that was already brewing between those two countries and other countries manifested because it was in the shadows for this long. And when this manifested, it will quickly show you what is going on in the geopolitical politics of different countries, who is taking what side and why. Those things needed to be exposed through this war to shake people up, to understand what lies deep within them. You cannot create a war in your reality if there is no war inside. So, the war inside is what the Pandora's box all of you were avoiding. Your fears, and you cannot cover the lid anymore. It's opening up individually for all of you. You are experiencing mass layoffs, and it is also opening up collectively for all of you through wars, earthquakes, accidents, fires, and whatnot. It is exposing and revealing things that has been suppressed for way too long. You cannot stop the momentum now. Your collective wants to awaken now, and it is bringing out whatever needs to be resolved, all the things your collective has been avoiding and not looking at. When each one of you work on yourself, then you move to a reality where these things also get worked out, so as to speak, because your outer reality will match your inner reality. So when you are healing your trauma, you will move to a parallel earth where the war stops, because there is no war inside, so you're not creating a reality where there is a war outside.
That was a very good explanation. I just have a question regarding this. Would you say that the way that we as an individual can change that will be the inner work of each person?
Yes,
Or
that is what we are telling through different channels, through every being. All the other beings are more interested in help you go deep within and open the Pandora's box, metaphorically speaking. There is nothing fearful inside it. There's more of you, the hurt you, the traumatized you, the yous that you have not acknowledged. Because remember, you are a source aspect. So, source is also experiencing its shadows and fragmentations, just like you are. The more you integrate your shadow aspects, the more you allow Source to integrate its shadow aspect. You are living as Source, and Source is living as you.
Thank you. That's very clear. James, would you like to unmute yourself, please, and ask your question?
Thank you. It's kind of like linked to what we've been discussing in the last few minutes, but you touched upon avoidance in the answer to the last question. My sense of, if I observe around my external reality, is a lot of people believe that there is only one external reality and therefore they have the symptoms of lack, and would you say that the first step towards healing that perspective really comes down to kind of self-worth, self-esteem, that sort of thing?
Yes, and the self-worth is not felt because of what you have been trained since your childhood. So release all of that through therapy or trauma work or belief work or what have you.
Is there, if I'm just curious if there's like a place at which all of this kind of began, as a general theme for the Earth Collective. Is there a sort of, does this go right back to the beginning in terms of what we wanted to explore in the Earth plane? Or I'm just curious kind of what the roots are.
Roots
For the sort of lack of
as
self-worth and the belief systems that underpin that.
so the human collective, just like every individual, also has its theme of exploration. And how can it, as a collective, know who it is if it has not experienced who it is not? So, this forgetting that you are source and having a lack of self worth is a journey for the collective consciousness to realize that you were always worthy and you believed that you were not worthy because it served you in some way. And this is becoming more and more clear. So, on this parallel earth, this is the theme your collective had chosen since the beginning. And there are many other parallel earths where the collective had different themes and we are experiencing different kind of realities or different kind of challenges than what you are experiencing. Some earths are not experiencing a problem in self-worth at all. They are experiencing a spiritual crisis because their self-worth is so inflated that they have lost the connection with source. And there are many other parallel earth with different themes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. In terms of the egregores that I think have been discussed once or twice before, the really large thought forms that affect the whole collective, would you say when you consider that it really all does come down to that focus on inner individual work though, and there's nothing that one can really do with regards to the egregores? It's just to focus on oneself. Would you say that's right?
The channel was distracted by some sounds here. We would request you to repeat your question again, if you please.
Sure. So egregores were discussed previously, and they're like super large thought forms, aren't they? That are in the around the collective consciousness. Can anything be done to work with the energies on that level, or does it all come down to sort of the individual inner work?
You can work on the smaller egregores because they are easier to disintegrate. But remember, what are egregores? They are nothing but collective thought forms. So if more than 5 people are thinking the same thing. They are feeding their thought, emotions, and energy and making that thought form stronger and stronger and stronger, so much that now it can make somebody who was not thinking about this thought think this thought, and thus perpetuating itself, because then the new person will feed its energy and the thought can exist. So the thought wants to exist now because it has its own consciousness, and just like on all consciousness, it wants to exist, and so it will go around influencing people to think about it and feed it energy. Hence, for the smaller egregores, the quickest way to disintegrate it is to change your thoughts, and you can change your thoughts when you change your beliefs, which is the permission slip we are talking about today. This is why we are saying don't think your thoughts unconsciously in the background. Become conscious of them, because as an individual, when you are stopping from thinking negative things or doing the healing work and thus removing the belief that makes you even think the same thing, those egregores, the smaller ones at least, becomes weaker and eventually they'll dissipate. There are other methods which we will not go into today. For the country level egregores, all the individuals have to stop thinking about the same thing. The egregore will lose its power. And that usually happens when you're working on yourself individually, because what is actually happening when you work on yourself, you move to an earth where that egregore does not exist.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, James. I actually have a question now regarding the egregores. Will the egregore have enough power to actually be manifested in reality without kind of like each individual person's manifestation?
They are. All the things that is happening to you as collective are manifestations of the egregores. You only notice the bad ones, you don't notice the good ones. The bad ones are like COVID. There was a huge fear of a huge egregore of fear which manifested as COVID. The same goes with accidents and wars and everything. The same goes with good things that are happening, which you don't take note of. So collectively, you are creating and co-creating realities for you by feeding into those egregores. That is why each and every individual's thoughts matter. You have no idea how much power you have over your own reality, because you're constantly shifting to Earth's parallel version of Earth's, where the reality is a match to your vibration. That is why we keep saying that we are approaching this from different perspectives. And today's theme is the emotion of fear and the thought. Learn to become the master of your thought. In some other transmission, the Lemurians will help you mastery of the emotions. And in this way, one by one, you can spiritually develop, personally develop, become better at manifesting, and you will move towards a collective where lesser negative things happen, because now you have moved to an earth where there are lesser negative egregores. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. And it raised another question for me right now, is that why are we humans so more interested in the negative reality? Like there are a lot of TV shows that shows, accidents or robberies and all this, the like violent stuff, and people really do watch those things as
Because
well.
because there is a collective negative thought that survival of the fittest, that is influencing all of you. You are attracted to the negative because you want to survive. So when you become aware of the negative, you are like, oh, I'm going to avoid that because it is going to affect my survival in some way. This is happening on an unconscious level. It can happen with any other simpler negativity which are not even life threatening, but in your mind, it's the same. It's about survival. So the more you go into negativity. It allows you to help you in survival. And when you engage in negative news, negative information, it closes your heart chakra. It makes it smaller because you lose trust in the world and the universe and in source and also yourself. This is a collective trauma that you have. And by working on yourself and releasing this belief, you will eventually realize that everybody can survive and you don't have to focus on the negative in order to survive. This is what we are working towards, and this will happen little by little.
Yes, and is there any benefit in watching movies that are apocalyptic or like a zombie thing? Because it's a very popular theme now on Earth. A lot of people are into this horror movies. I mean, does that give you like some sort of knowledge regarding some things, or do you learn something from watching this type of movies, or they're just negative? You should avoid.
Every person's reason for watching those kind of movies are different. So for some people, they can be totally detached and watch those just for entertainment, while for most of you, it creates a lot of fear. So when you are choosing a movie, ask yourself, why am I attracted to this movie? Is it going to make me feel good? What do I really want to see in this movie? Why is it so thrilling? What about it is so thrilling about this scene? This will allow you to tap into your own motivations while you are watching movie. It is not going to serve by giving a general opinion.
Yes, that's a good point. And now going to the hero aspect of fighting for the good, you know, is this as well in a way, like a lot of heroes, they end up killing the bad guys. And a lot of our teenagers and young adults, they really feel that, the heroes are heroes. What is this still negative, or
This is
yeah, maybe.
duality. This is what your collective is experiencing in 3D, where they are avoiding their shadows and they are choosing one side over the other, which has caused enough pain. Now it's time for integration. So some of your movies would show that the heroes are not killing the villains but curing them or helping them to become normal people. So this narrative has to change because this narrative reflects your collective understanding of the hero's journey by avoiding the shadow. The villain aspect is the unloved and fearful aspect that has manifested. So the hero doesn't need to conquer it. The hero simply needs to accept it and assimilate it so that its pain can be gone and it becomes a normal human again. So there need not be any villain. The hero becomes a hero when it integrates the villain and allows the villain to become a normal person. That is the narrative that you, as collective, need to shift to for total integration. Because any negative behavior stems from fear, self hate, anger, and all these negative emotions which are stored for over years. And of course, these are powered by limiting beliefs. So you will notice, and this is an experiment that this channel wanted to experience, but we are sharing it in advance with permission of our higher self. This channel wanted to go to prisons and work on the prison inmates' traumas and belief systems because this channel knew what we are already sharing, that if you truly heal their traumas and their beliefs, they need not be in prison anymore because they would not behave in the same way anymore. they would be totally a different person. They would just be like any other human being. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. James, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. Yeah, what you were saying a little bit earlier really brought back an experience of mine a few years ago, which was basically I've had a near miss car in a car I was driving, and it manifested in my reality there like another vehicle was on the wrong side of the road at high speed, and I couldn't swerve out the way because there were vehicles either side. So I just slammed on my brakes and very, very narrowly avoided the collision. But and for a long time I couldn't work out why I attracted that into my life. But from what you're saying, I would hesitate a guess to say that it was probably a reflection of the fact that I didn't feel like I had much control of my life. Would you agree with that idea as to the possible cause of the energies behind that?
Were you enjoying your life in general before that accident?
Some aspects, but a lot not.
Be honest.
Some aspects definitely. Some parts of it is good still, but there were definitely a lot of the things that were going on then that still are now that I want to shift.
Did you have any kinds of thought that I would rather die than live a life like this, or something in the similar lines before this accident?
Definitely not.
Interesting. When near-death experience happens, there are many, many reasons that it could happen. You actually died in that accident.
Mm-hmm.
And
another version, you mean?
No, you died and you came back in a different parallel version, because when you experience the holy inquiry of whether you choose to truly leave the earth experience or do you wish to stay, you chose to stay. So that version, that physical version of you died and you moved to another parallel version, a parallel frame of you, and you experienced a near-death experience. There is a reason why you came back, because you haven't completed the theme you wanted to experience in this lifetime.
But that surprises. Oh, sorry.
What thoughts do you feel when you hear this?
I'm surprised because I didn't feel like that within myself consciously.
The whole point was to jolt you out, to stop living your life the way you were living, because it led up to that point where you did not want to live anymore. But then when you were in the spirit, you realized you haven't finished living your theme, so you chose to came back. And that would have served you to re-introspect and see how you're living and make changes in that.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Thank you very much. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, James, for the sharing. Vince, would you like please to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yep, thank you. When you were talking about movies and the general choices that we make, we have religious texts, for example, the Mahabharata, where you have these enormous battles that go on, and they obviously influence, well, certainly the Indian culture and probably other texts as well, like the Bible. They have gigantic fights. So what, are they going to disappear when we move to a parallel universe, for example?
When you say disappear, what do you mean? Because they do not exist on your earth plane right now.
So where are they? Where's the Mahabharata, for example? Don't Hindus refer to that as one of their epic texts? And
Yeah, that is
biblical.
happening and on some parallel Earth.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and your Earth draws its histories based on its belief system. So, as a collective, if you thoroughly do the healing work, you may eventually, when we say you, we don't mean you as a person, but as humans in thousands of years in the future, you may totally lose in touch with this mythology because in that collective consciousness, there would be no use or no lessons learned from this mythology. These mythologies reflect your collective beliefs and they would disappear when the beliefs as a collective changes. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
I just want to touch base here with the time. It's been 1 hour in the session. We do have more questions from the Facebook group. How would you like to proceed?
We will take 5 more questions and then we would move to the permission slip.
Thank you. Sounds good. I'm gonna ask from Lila Cabral. She's asking, how can we move / jump to the timeline we prefer? Techniques for lucid dreaming?
Let's take one question at a time. For jumping timelines, you need to create a frequency in yourself that matches that timeline. Most of you, and when we say most of you, it doesn't mean that you cannot jump. Most of you, when you say jumping timelines, you mean something drastically different from what you're experiencing right now. You are anyway jumping timelines all the time. But what you mean is having complete and total change around you. For that to happen, you need to create a complete and total change inside of you by shifting your frequency. And there are many ways to shift your frequencies. So you have to understand how manifestation works because it is nothing but jumping timelines to a preferred timeline. You have to identify the thoughts that is creating your current reality and then find out the ones which are not favorable or at least not working in your favor and then do the work on yourself through any means to specifically remove those thoughts from your aura, from your system, and only leave the positive ones. The faster you are able to do it, the faster you will jump timelines. Then the changes around you will be so drastic, it will shock you. So your thoughts or emotions are creating your reality. You can use this as a permission slip to shift and jump timelines. If you are looking for specific methods, we would leave that to the Lemurians to discuss because they are going to anyway cover this in some transmission.
Thank you so much. I was wondering that we are talking now about timelines, about that airplane that disappeared, the Malaysian Airlines. Was that a jump of timeline?
No,
Or...
they disappeared into a vortex and they appeared on a different parallel Earth.
Okay. Interesting. So they were like in agreement, and that they collectively that went to a parallel Earth.
Yes, nothing happens without agreement from your higher soul.
Thank you. Let me continue here then with the Facebook questions. I have from Nico taigeta is the music tuning frequency of 432 hertz for a truly more beneficial and vibrationally superior to the current standard 440 hertz.
It would have helped if that person expressed how they are going to use this and in what purpose, because in certain cases the 140 hertz is sufficient and you may not need the 432 hertz. But in some cases, the 432 hertz may be very beneficial. If it is only about healing, you cannot use one generic frequency to heal the body, because each part of the body is vibrating at different frequencies, because each part has a different memory or is connected to a different memory or a different trauma. So if you are using sound healing for addressing a specific issue, you need to tune into the frequency of that part. And once you have tuned into the frequency of that part and start vibrating, the part will start resonating with you, because now you are on the same frequency. Then you raise the frequency so that the part can imitate that and raise its own frequency. You cannot raise the frequency of that part without tuning into it first, because it will have no connection with you. So if you are doing sound healing for the whole body, this becomes less effective, because it will respond to certain aspect to some degree, but you need more individual attention to each of these issues than doing a generic sound healing. The generic would work to some extent, but it would not make the issues go away permanently. It would help the pain or the problem temporarily by giving a temporary relief, like a painkiller, which actually doesn't solve the problem. It just reduces the pain for some time. So if you really want to create some permanent effect, we would suggest go one problem at a time, tune into the part that you're trying to heal, change its frequency, then move on to the next one. Go one by one.
Thank you so much. I think that was about 5 questions. Would you like any more questions at this point?
We would answer 2 more. We have a sense some
Okay.
questions needs to be answered.
Sounds good. I have one question here from Deepa Kalia. I have had a few experiences in my dreams about an invisible hand and a couple of others. In one of them, I was chosen from a huge group of people and made to stand on a stage on a road. And another was an old being, not completely human, just
Let's
jumped in.
take one image at a time. The first one where the person was standing on the road on a stage symbolizes that she is invited to now make herself come out in the spotlight and lead the way for others. That's why the road, showing the path where everybody travels, and the stage of seeking attention, meaning leading the way. Now you may share the other dream.
Sure. And another was an old being, not completely human, just jumped in front of me outside a cave and was taken inside and was lovingly offering food. At the same time, I meditate and journal from a higher state of mind with answers to my questions and was prompted.
So this
Yeah.
let's answer the cave question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you clarify who went inside the cave?
Yes,
The
it says uh, an old being just jumped in front of me outside a cave and was taken inside and was lovingly offered food. I'm guessing it could be the person, but I'm not so sure.
it is not clear who is taken inside, the being or the person, so we would leave the question at that. We do not want to give generic interpretation to dreams. Let's move on.
Yes, it says at the same time, I meditate and journal from a higher state of mind with answers to my questions and was prompted Clara as my spirit guide. The answers are mostly to my own personal life and very intuitive. Life feels very calm in spite of the extreme chaos my family is facing in reality. I am just curious about my connection and downloads. Thank you.
Give us a moment. That being, Clara, is part Pleiadian, part reptilian, and is that person's spirit guide. And there are many other spirit guides this person has who are helping her with her downloads, inspirations, and she's unconsciously connecting with them. We would urge her to do it more consciously in her meditations by asking them to reveal themselves. That's all.
Thank you. One more question, or was that two questions? Sorry.
One more.
Okay. So I have the question from Judy. She's asking, what what do you see as the connection between humans and animals, specifically pets?
The same way that the other soul agreements with other humans work. Sometimes you may have certain belief systems which prevents you from accepting help or a reflection from another human being. That is why you have soul contracts with animals, because they also serve as a reflection for you to know who you are. They serve many other purposes as well, because animals don't use human language. A lot of you who are close to animals and understand them without them communicating are developing higher forms of communication, of vibrations, because you understand them just by looking at them, even though they cannot speak your language. This is a very useful skill to have when you are preparing yourself for open contact, because many of the beings do not use language, they use telepathy. And since many of you do not trust your own intuition, even if you're communicated telepathically, you may ignore that message. So these animals also help you understand how to understand a person or a being who doesn't speak your language. So your communication skills, your nonverbal, vibrational communication skills increase. And there is a reason why you have certain pets in your life. It's different from person to person. But mostly it is allowing you to explore certain aspects of you which a human would not have been able to unlock, because people trust animals more as they don't have any agendas in their perceptions. Animals also do have agendas, but they are very basic and simple and non-threatening in nature.
Thank you. Are we done with the questions?
Yes.
Oh, we can. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So in today's permission slip, we are going to help you make decisions from place of calmness, inner contentment, and alignment with your soul. Your heart chakra is the closest to your soul. Your soul speaks through your feelings. So when you are in fear, instead of making a decision from a place of fear, you can immediately connect with your heart chakra to guide you to the right decision and have a conversation with it. This might have been explored in some previous transmission, but the importance of this permission slip is this will not only help you find answers which are not fear driven, but it is also more aligned with your soul's purpose. The answers will also relax you because the heart center is the only center, the only chakra that doesn't get influenced with traumas. It is still very much connected with the soul and always speaks the soul's truth. You must remember that in moments of doubts, conflicts, procrastination, fear, anger, whatever that is, you can always be your own advisor. Your heart chakra is your own search engine. You can find all the information that you're looking outside within. By connecting with your heart, whatever you're looking outside, the answer is already inside of you. So we are going to show you how to bring out that answer. So do 5 rounds of 7171 breathing to calm your solar plexus and calm your body. 7 count of inhale, 1 count of hold, 7 count of exhale, 1 count of hold. Let's do it together, starting now. Now that you feel a bit more relaxed, take your hand, any hand you wish, put it on top of where your physical heart is, gently. That is where your heart chakra is also located. Breathe into your heart, deep belly breaths with the intention of connecting with your heart center. You can maintain the contact of your hand with your heart chakra to stay focused. And think of a question whose answer you couldn't find anywhere, not even your search engines, and it had bothered you for a long time. Take a few moments to think of that question. If you have found the question, we would urge you to smile even if you have no reason to, because smiling activates the heart chakra. So ask that question silently in your head as if you are asking to your heart chakra with a smile, and pay attention to the answer it gives. Don't discard the answer as your own thoughts, because you will notice the answer deeply satisfies you. If the answer is not satisfying you, ask the heart chakra more doubts or questions you may have until you are fully satisfied. The heart chakra will always give you answers that are meant to be. So take a moment and have this conversation with your heart chakras while maintaining the contact of your hand on your chakra and a smile. You can continue doing this exercise on your own and do it as often as you can, especially when you have to make a major decision in your life, so that you are making a decision which is in alignment with your soul instead of making a decision which is not aligned with your soul. With this, we will wish you goodbye and good luck for today. See you again.
Thank you.
Wow, that was that was like that was a lot of energy. I received a lot of energy. How did you guys feel?
I feel in peace.
Yeah, good.
Did you actually
How you
receive any
doing, James,
answers?
after you found out that you were dead?
Sorry?
Huh?
How are you doing after you found out that you died in your accident?
Yeah, that really surprised me because my experience of it was seamless in that it was a near miss. So
Yep.
that really sort of knocked me for six. I was like, what? But I can sort of understand it. But I also think, well, I wasn't feeling like they were suggesting I might have felt, but maybe I was on an unconscious level. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
food for thought.
Bashar talked about that and exactly what happened to you. So thank you for being a personification of what he mentioned. And the interesting thing that came up when he talked about that was, Latika, I think you talked about timelines. Well, that's how easy it is to instantly change timelines. And you didn't even consciously know it. So you've done it, mate. You've done it. Well done.
Hey.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was really surprising.
So I use this permission slip very often, the one that was discussed today, and I realized why are they insisting on doing this more often, because uh, I have noticed a lot of people go around asking others for advice instead of trusting themselves. So this is like a way of showing you that you have all the answers. And this is the reason why I would like to ask you, how was your experience when you did it? Because I can give you some guidance if you face some hurdle or if the answer didn't come out correctly.
I think
You
for me,
know, mhm.
sorry, go on, Letitia.
No, you go ahead.
For me, I definitely felt a sense of I can trust my heart. So that was the first thing I felt. The first question I asked was a yes, and the second one, I think I had discovered then that may be some conflict between my mind and my heart, you know. But yeah, I certainly connected to it and thought I can certainly trust the answers that I will get, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
Nice.
yes.
Yeah, I
So
mean, that's great. Like, you did not face any conflict. When I first did it, I had a lot of difficulties. So it's great that it went smooth in the first try. Anybody else who wants to share, which did not go smoothly in the first try, I can help.
my situation was that I could not find a question that I would not have a immediate answer. So I went through few questions, but I received the answer right there. I was like, oh, okay, here's the answer. Oh, another one. Oh, here's the answer. I'm like, okay, so I have no question.
That is amazing. That means you guys are like doing some good work. So it's the answers are coming in like in one instant. So when I did it for the first time, the answer that came didn't really satisfy me, and I was thinking, have I really connected to my heart center, or like is it some other part speaking up? So I had a conversation that say I have question A and the heart replied something, and I'm like, but what about something else? And I actually had a full on conversation, and every time I would ask a but question where I'm not convinced, the answer that would come would again realign me to what really resonates with me. So eventually, at the end of the conversation, I had four conflicting questions. When I was not satisfied with the answer, the ending was peaceful, and it immediately put me into peace. So that is the sign that the answers are coming from your heart center, because it will put you to peace. Just remember this. The sign is the peace that you feel.
Mm,
That is your soul's truth, because your soul is supposed to make you feel at rest and in peace with yourself. So I just wanted to add that touch here.
mhm. Yes.
Let's stop the recording.